Before you count sheep, count mysteries.
For more than 2,000 years, one legend has refused to die. A city of unimaginable wealth. A civilization said to be far beyond its time. A kingdom that vanished beneath the ocean. In a single day and a single night. Most people believe Atlantis was nothing more than a myth. A story created by the ancient Greek philosopher Plato. But what if that isn't the whole truth? What if, hidden beneath layers of history, beneath myths, beneath the deepest waters of our planet, there really was a lost civilization? Across the centuries, explorers, historians, and scientists have searched for evidence. Some claim they found clues. Others insist Atlantis never existed at all. So, was Atlantis simply humanity's greatest legend? Or the greatest discovery we've never made? Tonight, we dive into one of history's oldest and most fascinating mysteries. More than 2,300 years ago, a single man planted the seed of one of history's greatest mysteries. His name was Plato, one of the most influential philosophers of ancient Greece. Around 360 BC, Plato wrote two dialogues, Timaeus and Critias. Within them, he described an extraordinary civilization unlike anything the ancient world had ever seen. He called it Atlantis. According to Plato, Atlantis was a vast island located beyond the Pillars of Hercules, known today as the Strait of Gibraltar. It was said to be a powerful empire, rich beyond imagination, filled with magnificent temples, enormous harbors, and breathtaking architecture. Its people were masters of engineering. They built canals that connected the sea to the heart of their capital. Massive bridges linked different districts of the city. The center was dominated by a magnificent temple dedicated to Poseidon, the god of the sea, covered in precious metals that glittered beneath the sun. Plato claimed Atlantis possessed enormous wealth: gold, silver, ivory, rare minerals, and a mysterious metal called orichalcum, described as being second only to gold in value. But Atlantis wasn't remembered only for its riches. It was remembered because of its fall. According to Plato, the Atlanteans became proud, greedy, corrupted by their own power. As their morality declined, the gods decided to punish them. Then, in what Plato described as a single day and a single night of terrible misfortune, violent earthquakes shook the island. Massive floods swept across the land, and Atlantis disappeared beneath the sea, forever. For centuries, many scholars believe Plato had invented the story as a philosophical lesson, a warning about arrogance, greed, and the collapse of civilizations. But others asked a different question. What if Plato wasn't creating fiction? What if he was preserving the memory of a real place? Because over the centuries, people from every corner of the world have searched for Atlantis. Some believed it lay beneath the Atlantic Ocean. Others searched the Mediterranean. Some even claimed to have found it beneath volcanic islands or hidden under layers of ancient mud. Yet despite countless expeditions, no one has ever been able to prove where Atlantis was, or even whether it existed at all. And that leaves us with a mystery that has survived for over 2 millennia. Was Atlantis simply the greatest legend ever told, or humanity's greatest lost civilization? Everything we know about Atlantis comes from a single source: Plato. That fact alone has fueled centuries of debate. Was he recording history or writing fiction? Plato was born around 428 BC in ancient Athens. He wasn't a historian. He wasn't an explorer. He was a philosopher interested in truth, politics, and the nature of human society. His writings often used fictional conversations to explore real ideas. Because of that, many historians argue that Atlantis was simply another one of Plato's philosophical stories. A cautionary tale about what happens when a powerful civilization becomes consumed by greed, pride, and corruption. But there's something unusual about the Atlantis story. Plato didn't present it as a myth he had invented. Instead, he claimed it had been passed down through generations. According to Plato, the story began with the famous Athenian lawmaker Solon. During a visit to Egypt around 600 BC, Solon reportedly spoke with priests at the ancient city of Sais. The priests told him of an enormous island kingdom that had existed 9,000 years before his own time. A civilization so powerful that it once threatened both Egypt and ancient Athens. Then, without warning, it was destroyed by catastrophic earthquakes and floods. Solon intended to write the story down, but according to Plato, he never finished the work. The account remained within his family for generations before eventually reaching Plato himself. This raises an obvious question. Did Solon truly hear this story in Egypt? Or was this simply a literary device designed to make the tale sound more believable? Unfortunately, there is no surviving Egyptian document that clearly describes Atlantis. No inscription, no scroll, no official record. At least, none that historians have been able to verify. Some researchers believe the Egyptian priests may have been describing another ancient civilization entirely. Others argue that Plato exaggerated an older legend, and many believe he created the entire narrative from scratch. Yet one mystery remains. If Atlantis was completely fictional, why did Plato include so many precise details? Dates, locations, descriptions of canals, temples, mountains, and kings. Even measurements of the city's layout. Far more detail than appears in many of his other philosophical stories. Coincidence, or evidence that Plato was working from an older source? More than 2,000 years later, historians are still searching for the answer. Chapter 3. Searching for a Lost World. For centuries, Atlantis remained little more than a legend. A fascinating story, but nothing more. Then, something changed. By the 19th century, archaeologists were uncovering entire civilizations once thought to be myths. The ancient city of Troy, the palaces of the Minoans on Crete, forgotten kingdoms buried beneath sand and stone. If those places had been real, could Atlantis be real too? The search began. Some explorers looked west, deep into the Atlantic Ocean. After all, Plato claimed Atlantis lay beyond the Pillars of Hercules, the gateway between the Mediterranean Sea and the Atlantic. Could the lost city still be hidden beneath the ocean floor? Others believed Atlantis was much closer. They pointed to the Greek island of Santorini, once home to one of the most advanced civilizations of the Bronze Age. Around 1600 BC, a massive volcanic eruption devastated the island. Entire towns were buried beneath ash. Powerful tsunamis swept across the eastern Mediterranean. Some researchers believe this disaster may have inspired Plato's story, not because Santorini was Atlantis, but because memories of the catastrophe survived for centuries before becoming legend. Another theory places Atlantis near southern Spain. Archaeologists have discovered ancient settlements and mysterious circular formations hidden beneath marshlands. Some believe these ruins match Plato's description of concentric rings surrounding the city. Others completely disagree. Then there are even more extraordinary claims. Some people believe Atlantis lies beneath Antarctica, buried under miles of ice. Others claim it rests somewhere in the Caribbean or near the Azores Islands. Some have even suggested it existed in places as distant as Indonesia or the coast of South America. Over the years, countless expeditions have searched the oceans. Scientists have mapped the seafloor using satellites. Divers have explored underwater ruins. Submarines have investigated mysterious formations hidden in the deep. Again and again, headlines appeared. Atlantis found. Yet every time, the evidence fell apart. Natural rock formations mistaken for walls. Ancient cities that turned out to belong to known civilizations. Or discoveries that simply couldn't match Plato's timeline. Despite centuries of searching, no one has ever uncovered convincing proof of Atlantis. No palace, no inscriptions, no artifacts, nothing that can be undeniably linked to Plato's legendary kingdom. And yet, the search continues, because somewhere beneath the oceans, or hidden within forgotten history, many still believe the answer is waiting to be found. For hundreds of years, the story of Atlantis belonged to mythology. But today, science offers a different way of looking at the mystery. Instead of asking, "Where is Atlantis?" researchers ask, "Could an event like Atlantis really have happened?" The answer is yes. History has shown that entire cities can disappear without warning. In 79 AD, the Roman city of Pompeii was buried beneath volcanic ash after the eruption of Mount Vesuvius. Thousands died. Buildings remained hidden for nearly 17 centuries. If no written records had survived, many would have dismissed Pompeii as nothing more than a legend. Then there is the eruption of Thera on the island now known as Santorini. Around 1600 BC, one of the largest volcanic explosions in recorded history tore the island apart. The blast was so powerful that it sent enormous tsunamis crashing across the Mediterranean. Entire coastal settlements were destroyed. Ash darkened the sky for hundreds of miles. Many historians believe this catastrophe contributed to the collapse of the powerful Minoan civilization. To some researchers, this sounds remarkably familiar. A wealthy island civilization, destroyed by natural disaster, lost beneath the sea, not identical to Plato's story, but close enough to raise questions. Then there are rising sea levels. At the end of the last ice age, around 12,000 years ago, global sea levels rose by more than 100 meters. Coastlines changed dramatically. Entire landscapes disappeared beneath the oceans. Places where people may once have lived are now underwater. Modern sonar surveys have revealed ancient river valleys, submerged forests, and even traces of prehistoric settlements beneath today's seas. These discoveries prove something important. The ocean has swallowed parts of human history before. But does that mean Atlantis existed? Not necessarily. Scientists point out that there is still no geological evidence for an advanced civilization matching Plato's description. No enormes underwater metropolis. No lost empire waiting beneath the waves. Instead, they believe Plato may have combined real historical events, natural disasters, and imagination into one unforgettable story, a story powerful enough to survive for more than 2,000 years. Because sometimes the greatest mysteries are born where history and legend become impossible to separate. If Atlantis really existed, where could it be? Over the centuries, countless theories have emerged. Some are supported by science. Others belong more to imagination than history. But a few continue to divide experts even today. The first theory takes us back to Santorini. For many historians, this is the strongest candidate. Thousands of years ago, Santorini was the center of the powerful Minoan civilization. Its people built impressive cities, created advanced plumbing systems, constructed massive buildings several stories high. They traded across the Mediterranean, long before most of Europe had developed complex societies. Then, everything changed. A volcanic eruption unlike anything Europe had ever witnessed destroyed much of the island. The explosion sent ash high into the atmosphere. Tsunamis devastated nearby coastlines. Entire settlements disappeared. To many researchers, this catastrophe may have inspired Plato's story, not because Santorini was Atlantis, but because memories of the disaster survived for centuries before eventually becoming legend. Another theory points towards southern Spain. Near the Diana National Park, archaeologists have discovered unusual circular formations beneath marshland. Satellite images revealed shapes that some believe resemble Plato's famous concentric rings. Supporters argue that a massive tsunami could have destroyed an ancient settlement thousands of years ago. Critics disagree. They believe the formations are entirely natural or belong to much later civilizations. No definitive evidence has ever connected the site to Atlantis. Then, there are the Azores Islands, located in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. Some believe they're the mountain peaks of a much larger landmass that sank beneath the sea. It's an attractive idea. After all, the islands lie far beyond the Strait of Gibraltar, just as Plato described. The problem? Modern geology tells a different story. The Atlantic seafloor has been mapped in extraordinary detail. There is simply no evidence that an entire continent disappeared there within human history. Perhaps the most controversial theory places Atlantis beneath the ice of Antarctica. According to supporters, the continent was once warm and inhabited. Then, a sudden shift in Earth's crust supposedly moved it to the South Pole. An advanced civilization became trapped beneath kilometers of ice. It sounds fascinating, but scientists reject the idea. There is no credible geological evidence supporting such a rapid movement of Earth's crust, nor has any archaeological evidence ever been found beneath Antarctica's ice sheet. And finally, there is one theory that surprises many people. What if Atlantis was never meant to be found at all? What if Plato combined real places, real disasters, and real civilizations into a single fictional kingdom, designed to teach humanity an unforgettable lesson? Perhaps Atlantis was never one city. Perhaps it was a symbol, a warning, or perhaps the search has been looking in the wrong place. All along, if Atlantis truly disappeared beneath the sea, then perhaps we've already seen it. We just didn't recognize it. Over the last century, advances in underwater exploration have revealed something extraordinary. The ocean floor is not empty. It hides cities, roads, harbors, and structures that remained untouched for thousands of years. Some are well understood. Others continue to spark endless debate. One of the most famous discoveries lies off the coast of Japan. In 1986, a diver searching for hammerhead sharks stumbled upon something unexpected, a massive underwater rock formation. It became known as the Yonaguni Monument. The site features enormous flat terraces, sharp edges, and what appear to be giant staircases carved into stone. Some believe it is the remains of an ancient city, possibly more than 10,000 years old. Others argue it is nothing more than a natural rock formation, shaped over thousands of years by earthquakes and ocean currents. Even today, experts remain divided. Thousands of miles away, another mystery emerged beneath the waters of the Bahamas, known as the Bimini Road. It consists of hundreds of large limestone blocks, arranged in a pattern that resembles an ancient road. Or perhaps a sea wall. When it was discovered in 1968, many immediately connected it to Atlantis. After all, the famous psychic Edgar Cayce had predicted that evidence of Atlantis will be found near Bimini during the late 20th century. For believers, the discovery seemed almost prophetic. But geologists disagree. They argue the stones formed naturally through geological processes that can create surprisingly regular shapes. Once again, the mystery remained unsolved. Then there is Pavlopetri. Unlike Yonaguni or Bimini, this underwater city is unquestionably real. Located off the coast of Greece, Pavlopetri dates back more than 5,000 years. Its streets, houses, courtyards, and tombs still rest beneath only a few meters of water. It proves something remarkable. Ancient cities really can disappear beneath the sea and remain hidden for thousands of years. Another fascinating site lies off the western coast of India, the ancient city of Dwarka. Marine archaeologists have discovered submerged walls, stone structures, and artifacts dating back thousands of years. Some believe these ruins inspired ancient Indian legends describing an entire city swallowed by the ocean. Whether myth or history, the similarities are difficult to ignore. In 2001, a team of explorers announced an astonishing discovery. Deep beneath the waters off the coast of Cuba, using sonar equipment, they detected enormous geometric formations, lying more than 600 meters below the surface. The images appeared to show symmetrical shapes, rectangular structures, and what some described as pyramids. The media exploded. Had Atlantis finally been found? Scientists urged caution. At such depths, a city would have had to sink long before human civilization was thought to exist. No follow-up expedition has ever produced evidence strong enough to confirm the claims. To this day, the Cuban structures remain one of the ocean's most mysterious discoveries. Every few years, a new headline appears. Atlantis found, a newly discovered ruin, an unusual sonar image, a strange formation hidden beneath the sea. And every time, hope returns. But so far, none of these discoveries has answered the question that has fascinated humanity for more than 2,000 years. Instead, they remind us of something even more remarkable. The oceans cover more than 70% of our planet, and despite all our technology, we have explored only a tiny fraction of the world beneath the waves. Perhaps the greatest discovery in history is still waiting to be found. For more than 2,300 years, Atlantis has remained one of humanity's greatest mysteries. Not because we have found it, but because we haven't. Every generation has searched for answers. Philosophers, historians, archaeologists, scientists, explorers. Some believe Atlantis was hidden beneath the Atlantic Ocean. Others searched the Mediterranean. Some looked beneath Antarctic ice, while others explored forgotten ruins scattered across the globe. And despite centuries of searching, the truth remains just out of reach. Perhaps Atlantis never existed. Perhaps Plato created the story as a warning, a lesson about pride, power, and the fall of great civilizations. Or perhaps, like many legends throughout history, it was inspired by something real. A devastating volcanic eruption, a city destroyed by the sea, or a civilization whose memory slowly transformed into myth over thousands of years. History has surprised us before. The ancient city of Troy was once dismissed as fiction. Today, Its ruins stand as proof that legends can sometimes contain fragments of truth. Could Atlantis be next? No one knows. The oceans still hide countless secrets. Even today, much of the deep sea remains unexplored. Every year, new discoveries reveal shipwrecks, ancient settlements, and landscapes that disappeared beneath rising seas thousands of years ago. Perhaps somewhere beneath those waters, the answer is waiting. Or perhaps Atlantis was never meant to be found, because sometimes the greatest mysteries are not the ones we solve, but the ones that continue to inspire our imagination. And maybe that is why Atlantis has survived for more than 2 millennia. Not as a forgotten city, but as an eternal question. Was it history, or simply the greatest legend ever told? Perhaps one day, someone will finally uncover the truth. But until then, don't count sheep. Count mysteries.